morning, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Abby.
And we'll be discussing today peace journalism.
Peace journalism is defined by Lynch and McGoldrick as when editors and reporters make choices of what to report and how to report it that create opportunities for society at large to consider and value non-violent responses to conflict. Peace journalism is considered as an alternate method of journalism and reporting. The concept was first developed by peace scholar Johann Galtung with his peace journalism model. This model will be discussed further on in this video.
Our media item is a picture from a tweet. Captured in this poignant photograph is a 4-year-old child with her hands up in surrender, thinking that the long lens of the camera pointed at her is a gun. The photograph was taken in 2012 during the ongoing civil war in Syria.
Turkish photographer Osman Sagarili took this picture of Adi Hudia at the Atman refugee camp on Syria's border with Turkey. Gaza-based photojournalist Nadia Abu Shaban tweeted this distressing picture of the small child, her eyes conveying a mixture of sadness and fear as she pursed her lips tightly. "Thought he has a weapon, not a camera, so she gave up," Abu tweeted with the hashtag surrender. The post has been retweeted over 26,000 times, which has elicited an emotional outpouring across the globe. Adi has been living with her traumatised mother and 3 siblings at the camp since 2012, when her father died at the Hama Province massacre, which claimed 200 lives. At first, some Twitter users believed the lost innocence photo may have been staged. But as a user on the Imgur photo searcher site traced it back to the Turkaya newspaper, where it was published in January, the BBC reported that it was authentic. "I was using a telephoto lens and she thought it was a weapon," Sagarili told the BBC. He explained that normally a child who is accustomed to having their photo taken will either run away, hide, or turn their faces to smile when the cameraman took their photo. It wasn't until after he examined the picture that Sagarili thought that he realised the subject was terrified because she had seen so many weapons in her young life that the camera became a weapon in her mind. The UN has called Syria's 5-year civil war the worst humanitarian catastrophe, with an estimated 220,000 people killed and more than 12 million in need of aid. Around 5.6 million of those are children.
An article published online in July 2010 discusses the role of photography in peace journalism. Published on the website Muslim Media Watch, a site dedicated to contesting the negative portrayal of women in the media and the negative Islamic stereotype of women, the article argues that due to photography's very nature as a profession that disseminates images for profit, its goals and purposes are therefore inherently exploitative. Peace journalists use photography to capture another individual's lived experiences, to share that with others who don't necessarily have an understanding of what is being represented. The story being told is therefore exploited from the subject. Sarah states that photographers are the exploitative currency of choice for all journalists, who are given an unparalleled authority to advocate for political action through the use of their subject. Sarah believes that photographs are exploited from their subject is true in the case of little Adi Hudia. While photographer Sagarili aimed to capture the sadness of a small child to expose and highlight the hardships experienced by children in warfare, he could not have understood that his camera would abuse the mental state of this small child who understood the camera to be a weapon. The photographer was therefore able to capitalise on the child's fear.
The real question is this exploitation necessarily negative to the greater capacity of peace journalism to highlight injustices? Sagarili is not asking his audience to condemn either side of the Syrian civil war conflict, but rather he is asking his audience to understand that no child should feel threatened or to have their innocence lost in such a violent and disturbing manner. This consequently achieves the aims of peace journalism to deliver balance, even if it does exploit the child's experiences.
One of the main concepts of peace journalism is that it offers a wider view on the situation thus eliciting a different response from the audience than they would otherwise have had if they were exposed to mainstream media. One experiment that attempted to show this was conducted by Anna McGoldrick and Jake Lynch. The experiment gathered data from a pool of participants from Australia and the Philippines. The data consisted of participants' responses to television news they watched that was coded as war journalism and television news that was coded as peace journalism. The headings were adapted from Johan Galtung's original peace model by Shinar.
Johan Galtung used headings to define peace journalism. The first one was that it explored backgrounds and contexts of conflict formation and presented causes and options on every side so as to portray conflict in realistic terms, transparent to the audience. The second was that it gives a voice to the views of all rival parties, not merely the leaders of two antagonistic sides. The third was that it airs creative ideas from any source for conflict resolution, development, peacemaking, and peacekeeping. The fourth was that it exposes lies and cover-up attempts and culprits on all sides, and reveals excesses committed by and suffering inflicted on people of all parties. The fifth was that it pays attention to peace stories and post-war developments.
Using these headings as framework, 2 television bulletins were made in a format familiar to the viewers. One story was coded as war journalism and the other as peace journalism. One way the coding was developed was through content analysis, which meant that existing news content in their respective countries were analysed so that the experiment's news bulletin contained recognisable idioms, allowing the peace journalism bulletin to be pitched to the audience. Secondly, critical discourse analysis was used as the news bulletins and journalism in general contained many different levels of meaning, such as those derived from the audience's meaning making.
The conclusions of this experiment were that watching the peace journalism bulletin made people feel less angry and fearful, and more hopeful and empathic. The viewers of peace journalism were also less inclined to apportion blame to one side, and more likely to think about cooperative solutions to the problems presented. When looking at how the photo of the Syrian boy relates to peace journalism, we will look at the headings used in the experiment by Lynch and McGoldrick. The image by itself does not provide enough information to apply to headings 1 and number 5, but can apply to the others. Number 2 states that peace journalism gives voices to all parties involved in the conflict. The image of the Syrian boy represents a few voices involved in the conflict, the first being children. Children are often considered to be helpless and innocent in war conflicts, which are thoughts that will come to mind when looking at the image of the boy, but what the photo has done has given the attention to the child's side. The image pays witness to the boy's suffering. Furthermore, a child is not considered to be on a particular side or party. They are victims to the whole conflict. The photo of the boy was taken at a refugee camp, thus the group refugees are also represented. Number 3 can be applied to the photo as it was first revealed to the public through Twitter, which is a prominent social media tool in sharing news quickly and globally. The photo contributes to peace journalism in that the simple fact that the boy thinks the camera is a gun reveals the fear that has been caused by the conflict. Number 4 applies to the image as it reveals the suffering inflicted on the boy and in effect the group he represents in the conflict, children and refugees.
Thus, the photo could be considered to be peace journalism through the headings outlined by Shinar in the revised version of Galtung's peace journalism model.
Thank you for watching our short on peace journalism.
We hope it was informative.
Okay.